I've spent somewhere between $100,000 to $150,000 on private one-on-one mentoring and coaching. The question is, should you invest in courses and mentorings, in coaching programs, and will that actually help you to hit your first 5 figures online? There's more to the story. It's not like you think. Look, the truth is that not all of these investments were amazing, but yet also at the same time, I can't really say that it wasn't worth it. The truth is somewhere in between. We're going to explore that and answer a few of the most important questions, whether you should invest in yourself like that or not, and just go on your own and build your own business based on all the free information you can find online. My name is Marvin. I have grown 5 different online businesses to 5 figures a month, and on this channel I just share everything that can help you with Q&As daily. You can see a quick breakdown of the 5 businesses I've built so far. I have more proof in the main channel over here at Marvin Adam TV on YouTube. Let's get to the question of the day. Now, of course, as you know, you can spend anywhere from a few $100 to thousands, literally, on different courses, coaching programs, mentorship programs. And where's really the difference? Should you go with something that gives you a community of people so you can work in groups and like learning groups and meet other people and network? Or should you go with just a simple course, not really any direct feedback loop and like direct ways to be consulted and coached and helped by someone? What's the way to go here, and how much should you invest? As for myself, I've spent $40,000 on a single coaching program. That was a one-on-one coaching program with actually access to, I think, 4 or 5 different coaches throughout the entire week in everything that you can think of when it comes to marketing, sales, mental aspects of entrepreneurship as well. And but I also spent only a few $100 on a couple of different courses over the years, as well as, let me say, comparably smaller amounts of money on just one-on-one mentoring programs, such as, for example, the first one that I ever purchased was a $5,000 coaching program for about, I think, 90 days at a time. That was back in 2016 when I started this, right? So let's start there first. Should you, as a beginner, in general, pay for information? And the answer is probably going to surprise you, but again, it's going to be a bit deeper than just the surface layer response that I will give you here. So the answer is no. You shouldn't pay for information. You should pay for implementation. And what I mean by that is pay for somebody to actually show you how to implement and use the information that they share with you. And that means the education that you buy should be so well structured and taught that actually shows you how you can practically make use of these new techniques and skills that you will develop through your investment. That means whatever this applies to, right? Whether it's digital marketing, whether it's sales, ideally it's actually both. These are the 2 things that you need. You need to know how to market, you need to know how to sell. Once you have that, then I would say, if somebody is teaching you that in a proper way that you can comprehend and learn and use, then I think you have already won. Then I would say at that point, as soon as you make money, there is no reason to say it was actually a bad investment. Now, how can you spot or like prevent a bad investment? Here's one of the worst investments that I have made. It was actually the first course I ever bought. And by the way, I'm not going to name drop anyone or like talk bad about anybody. That's not who I am. Plus, I don't really, I think, still at the end of the day, see it as a mistake, because I'm looking back thinking, well, you know, actually it taught me a lot about the filter that I have to use to make decisions in my own life. So that means, was it a waste of spending that money? Well, actually it taught me a lot that otherwise probably I would have never learned, or like much later for maybe a significantly higher amount. So in that sense, I'm holding no grudges. I'm not really saying this is a person you should not work with, you know? So that being said, I will tell you that the way how you can, I think, spot somebody not being real is that when you really start to question, is this person just like rehashing or like copy pasting content they just find somewhere else, yet they have never really worked with anyone in the actual field that they supposedly are talking about. So that means, in other words, probably somebody who is just talking about how to make $1,000 online, $2,000 online, but they have very little to show for themselves in terms of testimonials, in terms of case studies, in terms of, I think, the information they share in general. Is it very superficial? Is it probably not even scratching the surface of all the detailed layers of, like I said, either it could be high ticket sales, low ticket sales, digital marketing such as cold outreach strategies. It could be certain types of paid marketing, paid advertisements, strategies, email sequences, all this stuff. If there's no layer to be found to their content and it's all just one big gibberish, just one big, like mass that feels like it's just like hypey and very euphoric and it's more marketing than anything else, then I think you should be very cautious in who you pick and who you work with and who you like to invest in terms of, investing money for information that you can then use and implement according to the program or the course that you have purchased. Now, I was asked this question, which is in basically the same context of this video so far, by Salah. Do you think high-ticket one-on-one coaching is the future, and where do you think e-learning markets are shifting? Like, where are they developing in terms of maybe trends? The question is kind of broad, but I will answer it briefly. So, do you think one-on-one high-ticket coaching is the future? So for me personally, I've been on both sides of the fence. That means I have purchased one-on-one coaching consulting. I've also offered one-on-one coaching and consulting. And by the way, if you wonder in what context, right? Even just businesses, I've just consulted businesses have been paid to do that in terms of how they can run their marketing. If, for example, they decided to not hire me to basically execute on the strategy that we helped them build, then I was just paid for the consulting part of it. What do you think is going to happen to this industry? Well, I think it's just going to grow increasingly bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is where I want to name drop and explain a little anecdote about Alex Hormozi, who also said something very similar to everything I've shared so far in this video, right? He said that basically, if I had invested my money in the beginning of my entire journey and career into an S&P fund or like stocks, then the returns, even 10 or 15 years later, wouldn't have been nearly as big as my ROI that I made, return on investment, after all these years and spending this money on mentorings, coachings, and so on. So I gotta say, if that's the opinion of someone who has, I think, $1 billion in net worth or something like that right now, who's one of the biggest American online entrepreneurs, right, in the US, then I think that speaks volumes, and I totally agree with him there. Now, also something in regards to the e-learning market, how it's shifting, that's very interesting to keep in mind, right? Is that we look at universities and we look at these, let me say, coaching offers right now. One shift that I can see is that there is a big trust issue, I think, in this market that is, let me say, education in general. I think less and less people are eager to opt for a university certificate and basically a degree, right? And spend 4, 5, 6 years studying, not really knowing how different markets in the world are shifting. It's pretty much a gamble to spend so many years just learning what to do with your life, and then once you finish, maybe you even realize, hey, this is not really for me. This is not really something I even enjoy, right? Well, that's not usually something that happens when you go with a rather short-term coaching or mentoring program, when you're already quite sold on the idea of starting a certain kind of business. And also, let me say, what I say doesn't really apply to doctors or surgeons. Of course, they need some sort of structured educational program that they need to go through, of course, usually at a university in order to practice, right? That makes total sense. But I think when we look at many other industries, we see this shift of people saying, hey, in order to become a consultant of any kind, a financial consultant, a fitness consultant, I think actually a lot of roles in the health industry now have people coming up and being taught what to do and how to build their business and how to build a career through one-on-one coaching rather than universities. Nutrition coaches, fitness coaches, I think are great examples right now. Now, if you're wondering if you should become a coach, if you should become a consultant in any shape or form, probably an unpopular opinion, I don't know. But I think that in order to really coach something, consult someone and teach somebody, you should teach from experience. And that usually, of course, requires years that you have invested in a certain type of career, whether that's as an entrepreneur in some field or that's in fitness. I think that makes a lot of sense before you start your own coaching program. And I am always very cautious when I see younger, up-and-coming coaches, consultants in the space, let's just say influencers selling courses, right? And I'm wondering, they just came out of the blue and they then sometimes claim they have made this and that kind of money, but there's nothing to really back it up. Nobody knows them in the industry. And they were probably just lucky one single time with a video going viral and all of a sudden they are offering courses. So if you're really young, I can see how you would be very sold on the idea that somebody else who's just 20 years old making so much money, right, that they claim online. Well, the thing is, what they claim doesn't necessarily have to be true. And there is, let me say, universal truth in time teaches you relevant lessons about life. And that means usually why in the past generations, in every culture in the entire world, all civilizations, we look up to older people because clearly they have spent more time on this planet, had more time to basically experience things. And that's why I would really be cautious when it comes to people who were extremely young. And I say that as somebody who started making serious money online in the first year when he was only 23 years young. I'm now in my 30s. That's almost like 10 years ago. But I also started making money extremely early. So I'm not saying that's a rule. I'm saying there's always exceptions. And by no means I'm saying that everybody in Gen Z is just, scamming and like making up things. I have met people with like very high IQ individuals at an age of like 19, 20 years old who I learned a lot from and still learn a lot from today, okay? Now let me inspire you with the things that you can achieve from home, where you sit right now, or maybe just on your phone, on your laptop. What are the things that you can achieve in this life? This was 4 hours of work in an entire year that made me over 10K in profit annually. If you were to break this down, it's very close to 3K for a single hour of my time. I'll make an extended better video that's a bit more fancy on my main channel on this. Like I said, I invested over 100K to attend mastermind events in Canada and Mexico, all over the world. Spent my money on personal development. And I've been doing this for a while. You can see here, this is from 2016. I signed clients in 39 countries worldwide so far when it comes to just B2B marketing offers, usually high ticket sales, high ticket marketing offers, usually paid advertisement, stuff like that. Now, I think the best way for me to help you is to suggest that you head over to marvinnm.com. There is a free training on there. You can see some results right here. Konjal watched the same training, then implemented what I taught him, made 6K after the first month. Hassan made 4K in the first week. Evangelos from Greece, not tripled, but what is like quadrupled his income after watching this training. Zion made 8K in the first month. Guy from Israel made over 100K in the first year. And Stefano made close to 7K with his first client. Now, if you go to marvinnm.com, you can find it here in the description as well. You can watch the training. Have a beautiful rest of your day. I'm uploading again tomorrow.